tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Rock and get us swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Put my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Rock and get us swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Put my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Rock and get us swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your daily vitamin. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so that all being said, we're going to get into it. But before we do, we're going to have a brief word from our sponsor. Okay, now let's see who all is in here. I am so done. Okay. Hey, love Christy. Miss Treese is here. G from the land. Claudette. Bookhurst DC's nefarious self. We the people. 504 NOLA. Battle Axe. Said bow to the queen. Not bow to the queen, honey. Tell them. Okay. That crazy beach Aries. Just joy. All right. Quiet Storm is here. All right. Let's get into it. Cherokee send it down. Woo, honey, I am so glad to be on this live. Y'all just don't know, okay? Vince, I am all the way from the UK. Ethylene is here. Let's get into it. Need. All right. Chill with Ronnie. All right. Terry Hinton is in the virtual building. Dark Tube. Okay, so let's get into it. Hip Hop Culture Judge. All right, Desmond. And shout out to all of my moderators for putting in work. Shout out to all of my loyal runs and anyone new to the channel. Y'all know I love me some you, okay? Our Maddox is here. All right, so let's get into it. Vince L said, buy all wigs, not today. Okay. Desmond said, Queen, just don't cuss us out. I'm not cursing anybody out today. Cut it out, Desmond. You are so messy. Okay, you are so messy. Now, with that all being said, when I tell you all, honey, the new Epstein files, we're going to have to talk about that later. Okay, because y'all know what the Queen was doing last night. I was up all in those files. Okay, I was up in those files and I got y'all some scoops. So we're going to talk about that later. Hey, Leon, Trisha, just anticipate. But for now, we got to talk about what's going on with this war, and it's all nefarious. Okay, I have found out some things. Now, since I'm late getting on here, hey, Christopher, since I'm late getting on here, you all might have already heard some of this stuff. You all may have already heard some of this stuff, honey, but I'm sure you haven't heard it all. All right, so let's get ready to get into it. Hey, Dangerous. Okay, let me put on my spectacles, honey. It's about to be nefarious. So, bad news. Okay, I don't know why I'm smiling. I mean, I'm on here because I missed y'all. I missed doing my morning live, but other than that, honey, it's not good news. Not for the U.S. anyway. Now, with that all being said, let's get into it. Let me pull up my X account because some of my receipts are on there. Hold on. Let me pull this up. Y'all, when I tell you all things are just not looking good, I told y'all this is a war we cannot win. Okay? This is a war that we cannot win, beloveds. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the sad truth of it all. So it seems to me, beloveds, that there has been a bit of how can I put this? Do y'all remember that? Do y'all remember the Road Runner and Wile E. Coyote? Y'all remember that, right? Yeah, it looks like it's been a bit of that going on. Okay, so basically there has been some decoys painted on the ground. And so Israel's AI, now this is all alleged, this is just what the reports are saying, because I want you to pay attention. I have to look at other news sources from around the country because these social media, I mean not social, but these lamestream media, they're not gonna tell you the whole truth. There's things they don't want you to know that we're gonna get into. Okay? Please pay attention. There's things that they don't want you to know that we're going to get into. Now, first off, it has come to my attention that when they were talking about shooting down some of these jets of Iran's, those were decoys that they painted on the ground. Okay, did you all hear about this? Once in the chat if you heard about it. These are decoys that supposedly were painted on the ground. Have y'all heard about it? Once in the chat. Let me see. Hold on. I see a couple of people. Most of y'all haven't heard about it. Yeah, well, it's not good. Okay, they tricked Israel, but also let me just tell you this. This is another thing that I heard that was kind of concerning. Okay, so they say there was a military exercise where there were different countries and they were doing practice runs, and this was just practice. And they say the United States pulled out early for some reason, and they say that when Iran left, then the U.S. bombed their ship. Okay, they said they bombed their ship. They recovered like 80 bodies, 30 people survived, and there's like 10 other people that were missing. They said this was a dirty move. They're calling this a war crime, and they're saying this was low down. Now, that's not what Iran is saying, but that's what other people are saying. Now, I want you all to pay attention because if that's true, that was dirty. Okay, but just remember, I'm going to go to the footage, but just remember, um, they're saying, hold on, let me just pull this up. So they're saying that this is what they did, and they say Pete Hegseth was bragging about how they took down one of their ships. They sank their ships, but he didn't tell you the whole story. Okay, all alleged, but let's go to it. Nini said you heard about it. This was despicable. Yep. Let's get into it.
U.S. sinking of an Iranian battleship off the coast of India is not what Pete Hegseth is saying it is. It's not what our mainstream media is saying it is. Here is what happened. That battleship was there taking part in a multinational drill, a military exercise with a number of countries. The United States pulled their ships out at the last minute for unknown, unspecified reasons. Then, once the exercise was over, The Iranian ship was leaving, and then our submarine launched a torpedo at it and sunk it. And we didn't even go provide any aid to anyone that was on that ship. It took the Sri Lanka military to arrive and rescue bodies and survivors, and there are still 10 people unaccounted for. There were 32 survivors and 87 bodies found floating in the water. Guys, this is disgraceful that the United States did this. This wasn't some strategic military exercise, the United States outwitting an adversary or anything like that. That was hitting someone who thought they were safe with their guard down. We call that here in the US a low blow. That's what was done here. And it is completely, utterly fucking disgraceful. Make sure to spread the word. Let everyone know. Comment, like, share.
Now, I'm going to tell you something else. When I was on live the other day, I saw a Measured Man as I was closing out the broadcast, or later on when I came back and I was looking at my chat, reading some of the comments, I saw Measured Man had said something about Tel Aviv being gone. Well, there's a man who's done a video, and I'll go to that, but he says that his friends over there told him that Tel Aviv looks like Gaza. Okay, and they're saying that anybody that posts pictures of it can get up to 5 years in prison. Now, does that sound like something that you would be doing or saying if you were winning a war? I just find it all interesting. Okay, I just find this all interesting. Also, there's reports from other countries, not the United States, that there's like 1,200 plus people dead from the US. Now, I can't substantiate this. I'm just telling you what other news sources are saying. Okay? All right, so anyway, let's go to this next clip. It's all a hot mess, is all I'm telling y'all.
That Iran wily coyoted Israel. They painted the fake shadow of a helicopter on the ground, and Israel's AI missile system bombed the shadow painting. They fucking wily coyote. Did everyone see the Iran wily coyote?
Oh, hear that? I mean, there's numerous videos about this. There's a video of them literally painting this on the ground. Okay. Like, I'm like, first of all, what this is called, beloveds. Okay. What this is called, it's called military deception when they do this. All right. That's what that's called. So anyway, let's go to this next clip. I mean, that was genius, if you ask me, painting it on the ground, and their AI thought that it was a real jet. They wasted millions of dollars worth of missiles firing at those, and they were all just $10 paint jobs, basically.
AF posted footage claiming to have destroyed an Iranian military helicopter, only for it to turn out to be a decoy painted on the ground. They bombed the equivalent of sidewalk chalk and then lauded it as an accomplishment. This is the funniest thing in the world to me. They painted anamorphic images of F-14 fighter jets on the tarmac, optical illusions that look realistic from the air, and the supposed best militaries in the world fell for it. It's giving Looney Tunes behavior. Remember Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, and he'd run into these painted tunnels on the wall? That is the energy the US is giving right now. The real jets were safely stashed underground. They took absolutely no damage in this attack, but it cost the US and Israel millions of dollars. The cost of each of these missiles, likely around $5 million each. You know how much it cost them to paint these decoys on the tarmac? $5, $10, if that. Like, what a great return on investment. We're entering the meme stage of the war.
Now, here's a video of them actually painting it. This is them actually painting it on the ground. Okay? This is the video of them literally painting this on the ground. I absolutely could not believe it when I saw it. Crazy, right? Hold on, I'm going to pause it. I don't know if there's music playing. Do y'all know how embarrassing that is? Do you know how embarrassing that is? Like, I absolutely could not believe they fell for it. Okay, so now with that all being said, let's go to this news report. Trump is talking about, in one of the latest reports, Trump is talking about, they're talking about retaliation. This is from like an hour ago. Retaliation here in America. Let me tell you all something though. Here's the thing. Remember we were talking about, they were saying that there's a possibility of sleeper cells being activated in the United States. And I told you, if anything happens here, like some sort of terrorist attack, then don't be so quick to think that it's who they tell you it is. Well, just pay attention to what I told you. Because according to a very reliable source that I have that's in the military, they said there is no sleeper cells. That's just a scare tactic, fear mongering for us. Okay, that's what was said. Now, with that all being said, I'm going to share my screen so we can go to this report from an hour ago. Yeah, it looks like this is not working out the way they thought it was. Okay, please pay attention.
Is hammering Tehran. They want to annihilate Hezbollah in Lebanon. What exactly are they targeting?
Yeah, Anna, so they are very much continuing to pound Iran and now Hezbollah in Lebanon, even issuing evacuation orders for parts of Beirut and southern Lebanon. They say they're going after Hezbollah strongholds, Hezbollah, of course, being an Iranian proxy. Meanwhile, we know the death toll is continuing to rise across the region. So we understand now over 1,300 people have been killed in Iran. UNICEF also reporting that at least 200 children have been killed across the Middle East since the beginning of this war. In terms of what's happening in Iran, we still don't really know much about the situation on the ground because of the ongoing communications blackout. Today marks 6 days of that blackout. Lots of questions as to who could lead Iran next. We heard from Iranian state television that the Leadership Council in Iran has met to discuss next steps in terms of how to, when and how to elect the next supreme leader. Of course, they're not giving a whole lot of details because of security concerns. The Israelis have said that they would take out whoever the successor to the Ayatollah is. We've heard from President Trump that he wants to be involved in choosing Iran's next leader, but both he and the Israelis are calling for the Iranian people to really seize this opportunity. It's unclear just how organized the opposition to the regime is in Iran, but I will tell you, we have spoken to at least one group that is trying to mobilize. So this is the National Council of Resistance of Iran. They tell us that in recent days, the activities of resistance units inside Iran have been spreading throughout the country. The spokesperson for this group telling us that they've been targeting centers, what they call centers of repression. So, for example, IRGC district command centers, setting them on fire. And of course, this is just one group. It's unclear how much support they have. We know there are likely lots of different groups inside Iran preparing to mobilize. And it's also still unclear how much support the regime has. And meanwhile, there are concerns about this conflict, of course, spreading to other countries. There are fears that other countries could get dragged into this conflict. We know, for example, European nations are now sending more military assets to the region. So the French are sending jets, a nuclear aircraft carrier. The Brits are also sending jets. They have allowed the U.S. to use their base on Cyprus. That base, of course, becoming a target of Iranian drones. So there are concerns that the French and the British could potentially become targets. And today we also learned from the Australian Prime Minister that there were Australian nationals aboard the U.S. submarine that torpedoed an Iranian warship. 87 Iranian sailors killed in that attack. So that is raising concerns that Australia could also end up dragged into this conflict.
Inez de la Quatera live from Jerusalem. Thank you for that reporting. Max, Iran keeps targeting its Arab neighbors. The UAE says more than 200 ballistic missiles since Saturday and nearly 1,200 drones have been aimed there. Now, a top official in the region tells MS Now the UAE is taking steps to freeze billions in Iranian assets. Is Iran's strategy backfiring?
It's too soon to say. I mean, I think the Iranian strategy is to increase the cost for the global economy and therefore to exert pressure on Trump to end the airstrikes. And there is no question that, that the cost is increasing. global oil prices have risen by about 30% since the start of the war. You're seeing a topsy-turvy effect in U.S. stock markets. So the Iranians can look at this and say that they are having some impact, but you're right, it could also easily backfire if the Gulf states are doing more in the coalition. If UAE continues to freeze Iranian assets, that would be a big economic blow to the regime. But I think from the standpoint of the Iranian leadership, their thought process is they don't have to prevail militarily. All they have to do is outlast Trump. Trump has suggested that U.S. strikes will go on for 4 to 5 weeks. And if the Iranian regime is still there at the end of that time, they will feel like they won. And I haven't seen any evidence that.
You know what's interesting is they're acting like Iran is losing. They're acting like Iran is going to give up. They're not going to give up. And I'm going to show you the proof in just a few minutes. Keep listening to the lies, though, because that's all they're doing, okay? I want you to pay attention. They're not telling you the story. There's things they do not want you to know. But I'm going to show you in just a minute. Keep listening.
The regime is in any danger of falling anytime soon.
Graham, you say Iran's neighbors, quote, once wondered whether Iran could be appeased and contained. Now they do not. What does that mean for where this could be heading?
Well, I agree with Max that it's too soon to tell for sure. It is not too soon to tell that the attitude of the Arab Gulf countries has changed probably permanently against Iran. Iran's decision to attack, especially civilian infrastructure in places like Dubai, which is where I am right now, it has caused these countries to permanently consider Iran untrustworthy. And until very recently, a place like Dubai was one of the ways that Iran.
Here's the thing. If they think Iran's trustworthy, you really think they believe the United States is trustworthy? Okay, please pay attention. Okay, please pay attention. Nobody around the world that has sense believes that the United States is reliable or trustworthy. They've pissed off their own allies, okay? The ones that are helping them now are only doing so for their own best interest, not because they care about the United States. But let's continue.
Understood the world. It was a place, an economic conduit through which Iran would leave its isolated country. So this is no longer a place where I think they will think in the future that Iran is trustworthy, given that they've recently been attacked by it.
Max, let me repeat what President Trump said when asked if Americans should be worried about attacks here at home. Quote, I guess, but I think they're worried about that all the time. We think about it all the time. We plan for it. But yeah, you know, we expect some things. Like I said, some people will die. When you go to war, some people will die. Your reaction to how the president handled that question?
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it.
I think it's part of a pattern of Trump just saying stuff, and often very inappropriate stuff, and Hegseth too. I mean, it kind of feels like at times they are treating this like a video game. And in fact, they're posting videos on the White House website, borrowing from movies and video games. And it doesn't feel like they're dealing with the gravity of the situation. He's just, throwing stuff out there. Americans should definitely be concerned about the terrorism threat from Iran. They have a long history of supporting terrorism. And that could be one of the ways that Trump could respond. But it's kind of interesting to see how, when it comes to deflecting congressional action, the argument from the administration is this isn't a war. It's only bombing. It's only, a special military operation, as Putin might call it. But when it comes to talking about casualties, President Trump very much invokes the idea that this is very much a war and that casualties are inevitable in wartime. Like a lot of things that Trump says, it doesn't quite add up.
Graham, Iranian state TV says there's still no decision on how to safely gather Iran's assembly of experts to pick the next supreme leader. You have some new reporting on the man who's considered the frontrunner, Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the late Ayatollah. One acquaintance of his told you that Mojtaba is the most dangerous man in the world. What makes him so dangerous?
This acquaintance of his was a student with him in Qom briefly, and a social acquaintance of the former supreme leader because of that. And he said Mojtaba is extremely intelligent. He's also much more ideological, much more violent in his inclinations than his father. Moshtaba is 56 years old, and I think a lot of people have thought maybe as a younger supreme leader, he would be a modernizing autocrat, might try to institute change. And my source says, not going to happen. This is a person who's deeply, deeply intertwined with the military and security services of the country as it stands, and is extremely on the hardline side, maybe even on a millenarian hardline side, in a way that no one would like if he came to power.
Where does he stand on nukes?
So his father famously had a fatwa that said we're not going to use nukes, which of course coexisted with a strong attempt by the Islamic Republic to get them. His son, according to my source, would be much less inhibited about using such things. The willingness of the regime to kill 30,000 of its own citizens just in a couple of days last month tells you something about how they would think about using a weapon like a nuclear weapon against non-Iranians if they got put in a corner. Mujtaba seems about as interested in doing that as anyone who might be in the running for that job.
Max, this morning, President Trump told CNN he will not insist on Iran becoming a democratic state, but he reiterated that picking the new leader is going to work like it did in Venezuela. Is that realistic? Is there an Iranian version of Delcy Rodriguez?
I think there's a real mismatch between the U.S. commitment to this war and the rhetoric emanating from the White House. And after the interview that you just cited, Trump posted on social media to say that his demand was going to be unconditional surrender. Remember, unconditional surrender was the U.S. demand in World War II, where we sent hundreds of thousands of troops to occupy.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there because that video is like 12 minutes long. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next. Let's go to Lion R's Fox News. Okay, let's go to them because they come with the lies. So before I tell you all, show you all some of the stuff that's really going on, let's listen to the lies first. Okay, let's just listen to the propaganda.
Showing the overwhelming firepower of the U.S. and Israeli militaries as they continue to hammer Iran's defenses. CENTCOM is reporting our forces controlled the skies and destroying Iran's arsenal with, quote, lethal precision. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany. Here is my co-host, Emily Campagno. Also joining us, Caroline Downey, national.
Now, mind you, she said with lethal precision when they're firing $1 million worth of drones at chalk. Okay, please pay attention.
Review columnist Cheryl Casoni, Fox Business anchor and host of American Dream Home on Fox Business, and Lawrence Jones, co-host of Fox and Friends. Well, let's start here. As the conflict intensifies, the State Department says it's working around the clock to bring Americans home from the Middle East.
We've seen 20,000 Americans be able to return to the United States since this began, including 10,000 Americans that have been directly assisted by that task force. Bottom line is this: if you're an American in the region that is looking to depart the region, please call +1 202 501 4444.
Let me just tell you all something. Now, I can't substantiate these things, but I told you that they are saying on other media outlets around the world, they're saying that there's like 1,200 and something people dead on the U.S. side, and also many of their soldiers are in the hospital in Germany. So that all been said, yeah, I was able to fact check that, and here's what it says. I'm going to click off of this for just a second. And then I'm going to pull this up. Then we'll go back to that report. But I want you all to see this. Here we go. Okay, so U.S. service members wounded in the 2026 conflict with Iran are being treated at Landstuhl Regional Medical Center, okay, in Germany. As the largest U.S. military hospital abroad, it serves as the primary hub for evacuating casualties from the Middle East. The facility is currently adapting to the influx of injured personnel. Adapting to the influx of injured personnel. What does that tell you? There's lots of people injured, folks. Okay, the lies about 6 people being dead, I mean, believe it if you want, but I don't. Okay, and then it says, It tells you where it's located. Okay, the hospital is handling casualties from the recent intensifying conflict with Iran. Due to the increased demand, the hospital has paused some non-emergency services, such as labor and delivery. Now, labor and delivery is very serious, but they're pausing some of those things to focus on the needs of the injured. Okay? Y'all heard that, right? So I just want y'all to pay attention because the lies are out there, but I don't need y'all listening to them. We need to be talking about the truth over here on this channel. Okay, we've heard enough of the lies thus far. Landstuhl. Robert said it's Landstuhl. Thank you, beloved. Now let's continue.
4-4. We are working 24/7 to bring you home.
A new video posted last hour shows
Roberta.
B-52s at work. CENTCOM explaining these bombers have been used in every major conflict since 1965, including Operation Epic Fury. During the first 100 hours, these planes struck Iranian ballistic missiles in command and control posts. And the B-52s joining the U.S. and Israel's aerial assault, with military officials reporting the Iranian regime's ability to impact other nations in the region is, quote, rapidly declining. But Iran is still trying to fight back. This video was taken in Azerbaijan this morning. Azerbaijan says 4 people were hurt when several drones landed in civilian areas near the Iranian border, including near an airport and a school. Iran denied responsibility, saying, quote, "We do not attack our neighboring countries, including Azerbaijan." Oh, wait, but Iran has now attacked 12 countries in the region so far. We have that list. Let's pull it up. Lawrence, absolutely laughable to suggest you don't attack neighboring countries. The list of
Now, she seems to think it's laughable, but this is very strategic. And the reason being is because they're attacking where the United States and Israel get their oil from. That's what they're doing. Okay? She can laugh all she wants, but it's not going to be funny at the end because they're attacking the countries where they both get their oil from. That's why they hit the GCC countries. I told you all that. Okay? And now they're attacking the countries where Israel gets the main supply of their oil from. Okay? And, you know, like at the end of the day, they can paint all the narratives, but the truth's going to come out eventually.
12, as you can see here, everyone from the UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. The list goes on. Once again, as I said yesterday, proving they are not a rational actor when you're attacking 12 countries.
Well, it's proven the president's point, as well as Israel's point. You know, some of the countries that they're attacking are considered allies of Iran. Take Turkey, for example. Turkey isn't like some of the other countries that have been saying things privately.
Okay, I think we've heard enough of the rigmarole. Here's the thing. Allies are not. If you're giving the enemy oil, they're going to attack you. They're going to make it to where they're hurt. Okay, that's just a smart thing to do. I'm sorry, it is. Now, with that all being said, and here's the thing. I love how they're trying to act like Iran is so bad, but the truth be told, America started this war. Okay, they started it. These people have a right to defend themselves. They just do. Now, I'm not happy about any of it, but at the end of the day, I mean, they have a right to defend themselves. What do they think? They're supposed to get attacked and not do anything? That's just crazy and obtuse to even suggest. Okay? Now, if they said, like they've been telling their soldiers, these commanders have been lying and telling their soldiers that God has ordained Trump to start this war to bring about Armageddon and the return of Jesus, well, then I would say they shouldn't be worried about anything then, because wouldn't that mean that Jesus is on their side? Don't look like it, though. But anyway, let's continue, because here's another sad story.
Of a synagogue that what you're seeing behind me is the destructive power of an Iranian ballistic missile, the rubble of a synagogue that used to be in this area. At least 9 people were killed as a result of this attack. Many of them, it appears, were in a bomb shelter beneath that synagogue. But because it took a direct hit, it appears that that bomb shelter caved in, resulting in this absolutely tragic incident. You can also see the damage that has been wrought to several of these residential homes that were around this small synagogue.
No, that's in Jerusalem, where Iran hit them, and it was so deadly that it made the bomb shelter cave in. Okay, so think about that. But let's continue.
Here in the city of Bet Shemesh on the outskirts of Jerusalem. And this is so far the deadliest missile strike that we have seen from Iran since this conflict erupted yesterday after Israel and the United States attacked Iran, and Iran began retaliating with ballistic missiles as well as drones aimed here.
Now, mind you, this is from 5 days ago. This report is from 5 days ago. Now, I had not heard anything about this. Had any of you heard anything about this? Once in the chat, if you heard about this. This happened 5 days ago. Has anyone heard about this? I had not heard about this, okay, until last night. So, which leads me to know that they're absolutely not reporting things that are really happening, that they don't want us to know some of these things, okay? All right, so anyway, let's continue.
In Israel, as well as at U.S. military bases and other cities in the Gulf as well. And so we are continuing to see Iran firing missiles. Many of them are being intercepted, but you can see what happens when even just one of them makes it through. What you're seeing behind me is the destructive power of an Iranian ballistic.
Okay, so now I'm going to go to my X account. Give me just a moment. Okay, here we go. Now let's listen to this. Michael, my email is QueenAhmadiyyah_Shakur, just like my name, QueenAhmadiyyah_Shakur@gmail.com, beloved. You can go ahead and send the email. Thank you. I'll be looking for it. Make sure you put if your email is different than your name is in the chat, please be sure to put your name that's in the chat on the email so I know who it's from.
Israel is taking a bloody good hiding, but you don't know it. You don't know it for two reasons. First of all, anybody releasing a picture or video of the damage in Tel Aviv is immediately sentenced to 5 years in prison. And secondly, because the mass media, CNN, BBC, Sky News, have accepted Israeli censorship and are therefore not broadcasting the footage that they have taken over a Tel Aviv that now looks like Gaza. How do I know that? Because I've got friends in Tel Aviv. Sheinkin Street, Tel Aviv. Near Dizengoff Square, Tel Aviv. And they've been walking around, and it's they who tell me from their own mouth that Tel Aviv now looks like Gaza. How could it not? Because the air defenses over Tel Aviv are no longer operational. The Iranians are hitting at will with the most powerful ballistic missiles. 50 ballistic missiles hit Tel Aviv last evening alone. They're also lying to you about the number of American casualties. How can all these CIA bases, all these American embassies, all these foreign bases of the United States, how can they all have been hit and destroyed with only 4 dead Americans? I'm going to take a flyer, and it's this. There are approaching 1,000 dead Americans, and they can't be hidden forever.
Y'all heard that, right? But y'all ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till you get a load of this. Okay, now they want Ecuador to get involved. Okay, please pay attention. We're going to get to that. But I want you all to see this. Here it is right here. Now I want y'all to listen to what this man says. And look at the look. Please pay attention to the news reporter's face when he says what he says, okay? Please pay attention to the news reporter's face when he gets his answer to the question he asked.
Not ruled out boots on the ground in Iran Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade, the ground troops?
Now, I need y'all to pay attention. Did y'all hear what that man said? Did y'all hear what he said? He asked, was he concerned about them getting boots on the ground? He said, no, we are waiting for them. And the news reporter stuttered. Now, I'm going to rewind it back.
President Trump has not ruled out boots on the ground in Iran. Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade, the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
So you're saying that Iran is ready and willing to take on the U.S. military if there were to be ground troops?
Well, we were ready for this war even more than the previous war. So
I'm sorry, didn't I tell y'all this? Didn't I tell y'all this? Didn't I tell y'all they've been waiting on this for 20 whole years? I told y'all. Please pay attention. Get the likes up, beloveds.
you can see, the quality of our missiles, how much they are upgraded after the last war, because we learned lots of lessons. And we are prepared for any other eventuality, even, a ground invasion. So our soldiers are prepared for any scenario. When I said that we are waiting for them, it didn't mean that we are waiting for continuation of the war. No, but we have prepared ourselves to confront with any scenario, with any eventuality, any possibility, and we know that we can handle that.
President Trump has not ruled out boots on the ground in Iran.
Y'all heard what he said? What he really said? Let me just translate it for you. I don't know why this person keeps calling me. Let me just tell you. Let me just translate it for you. What he's really saying is...
Ready, we ready, we ready for y'all. We ready, we ready, we ready for y'all.
Okay. That's what they're basically saying. Like, they're not even concerned. Okay? Not even concerned, really. But let's continue. Let's continue. Now, with that all being said, hold on. And there's even soldiers posting how they want to leave the army and all of this stuff. It's just really a whole mess. Hold on. Here we go. Chris, Love Chrissy said, "Nuck if you buck." Okay.
19 years. 19 years I've spent in the Army, and I have made the decision to get out. And I hear a lot of, well, it's just one more year. Oh, you're crazy to be missing out on all that money. But people don't know what I've been through. I deployed to Afghanistan about 8 years ago. And coming home since then, I've stuck it out. And finally, the trauma from that has caught up with me. And I have stayed so long in a system that literally broke me. Yes, I've had really good times, but the one bad time holds so much weight that I can't do it anymore. I don't have any more left in me. And today I just learned that the reason I'm getting out is the same reason so many other people have voluntarily separated from the military. So being a part of something that has caused me so much trauma, it's been really difficult. But I'm done. I'm done. I can finally take this off.
Okay, so basically, she's been in the military for 19 years. She only had one more year to go before she gets that big pension, I guess. At the end of the day, she's out of there. And I don't blame her. I'd be out of there too. Okay? I'd be out of there too, honey. It is what it is.
News today is March 5th, 2026, and the United States and Israel have started carpet bombing.
There is
Tehran.
carpet bombing as far as the capital of Iran, Tehran, is concerned. We're seeing capital city. These visuals that you see on your screens there, it's an entire array of explosions that you see, black smoke billowing out of the skyline.
Who don't know, cluster bombing is illegal. You're not allowed to do it. Put a line with what Pete Hegseth said 2 days ago, that the United States doesn't abide by the rules of war. Do you think that that makes the U.S. safer? The quote-unquote moral police of the world say,
The U.S. is desperate. They're fighting dirty. Okay, they're taking sneak attacks. Okay, after military drills for everybody. Okay, this is the kind of stuff they're doing and then bragging about it. Okay, at the end of the day, this is not going to fare well for them. I promise you.
the rules of engagement no longer apply. What do we think other countries are going to do? And what do we think that we're giving them a pass to do? In other news, we just invaded Ecuador. Proverbial we. United States of America has put boots on the ground in Ecuador. That was not on my bingo card, like at all on my bingo card. I would have said Cuba. Like if we were going to go in anywhere, I would have said Cuba. But Ecuador, not quite sure I understand the Ecuador play just yet. And there's not a lot of media reporting what's happening there. In fact, there's not a lot of good, reliable reporting coming out of anywhere. Iranian state media has been known for propaganda. Israeli media has been known for propaganda. In fact, there are reports coming out that CNN report was arrested for filming sort of the aftermath of what happened in Tel Aviv. And the Israeli government didn't want that getting out. Yeah, none of us have the real story. None of us know what's going on. That is not by accident. Our media has become a conglomerate by one family, the Ellisons. Netflix was getting ready to buy Warner Brothers, and that Paramount really wanted to buy Warner Brothers. And so they made another offer. They tried a hostile takeover, and ultimately Netflix had won. And then all of a sudden in the news, it's reported that Netflix backed out and Paramount won that bid to purchase Warner Brothers, which now puts all of that media under Paramount's control. Paramount is owned.
Okay, we already talked about that the other day. Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all been said, let's go to this clip. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to have to use an overlay because this is from Piers Morgan's show, so I don't have permission to use it.
We started.
Hold on here.
You should be ashamed of yourself. I'm an American. You asked the question. I know you can't handle brown people, being part of the West. I'm an American. I barely started, but he doesn't want people to hear what's going on. Israel attacked Iran first. In Syria, they bombed an Iranian consulate in violation of the laws of international law and international diplomatic law. Yeah, they killed Iranians in Iran. They then bombed Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. They bombed the Iranian capital. And then they bombed Beirut and killed a senior Iranian general. So actually, it was Israel that's been provoking. So we're going to talk about lectures. You should keep your lectures to yourself and be embarrassed for the government you served. As for you living in the region, the problem is not you living in the region. The problem is the army you served and the country you were a spokesman for illegally occupies other people's lands in the West Bank, in Gaza, in the Golan Heights, now in Lebanon again. You are the country that is illegally occupying other people's lands. It's not about you living in your homes. It's about you taking other people's homes. It's about Israel now aiming to annex Gaza, according to Haaretz this week, that Netanyahu no longer has any interest in saving the hostages, as he never did, and is eyeing annexation of Gaza, to quote the Israeli newspaper Haaretz. I'm not sure how Jonathan still comes on these shows and defends that kind of barbarism and open war crimes. I'm not sure how Jonathan sleeps at night watching people burned to death thanks to the military that he served and is now being investigated both at the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court. That is what you stand for. You serve the IDF, the Israeli military, which, as I say, is being investigated at the ICJ, and the ICC. You serve a military that has been credibly accused by the United Nations just last week, by Israeli media, which showed videos of mass rape of Palestinian detainees. The New York Times this week reported that your military sent children, Palestinian children, as human shields into booby-trapped tunnels and buildings. Is that what you did, Jonathan? Can you tell us today, did you ever send a Palestinian child as a human shield into a tunnel? Because the New York Times is saying your military did that. The World Food Program is saying your military is starving the people of northern Gaza. Did you starve people when you were in the military, Jonathan? What do you stand for? Starvation? Mass rape? Ethnic cleansing? Genocide? Every human rights group in the world says your military is an abuser of human rights. I don't know how many human rights you yourself have personally abused. I don't know if you turned a blind eye to rape on your custody. I don't know if you killed children at cold blood, at point blank range like Israeli snipers did to people carrying white flags. You can tell us today how many people you've killed or how many people you've tortured. I'll be all day. Listen, but the issue is you're bombing areas of tents and hospitals. You've bombed refugee camps, as Piers pointed out. You've bombed schools, as I've pointed out, and you've dodged. You bombed a Lebanese Christian town and killed 23 people from one family, including 2 babies. You've bombed UN peacekeeping soldiers from Ireland and Italy, who are not Hamas or Hezbollah either. Israel is bombing people deliberately. We don't need your word for that. We've seen hundreds of TikToks, including my company, Zateo, that you happily mentioned earlier, put out an entire documentary interviewing Israeli soldiers and showing the TikTok of them bragging about their violence inside of Gaza and now Lebanon. You talk about low-hanging fruit. Let's just be clear here on the facts, since people are not going to get the facts, because as you've read my book, there's a tactic called gish galloping, which is what you just did, which is to talk over all the facts without engaging with them. Here are the facts that people can go look up for themselves. Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, the UN Human Rights Office, UNICEF, UNHCR, Save the Children, World Food Program, WHO, Doctors Without Borders, I keep going, Refugees International, International Rescue, they all, Care International, Christian Aid, Physicians for Human Rights, they all say the Israeli military is to blame for the casualties, for the killing of innocent people, for not giving warnings, for bombing civilian targets, and for starving the people of northern Gaza. Right now, Save the Children say that northern Gaza looks like the depths of hell. The World Food Program says no food has been allowed in by your government and your military since the start of October. And by the way, one last point. You mentioned, maybe 10 soldiers did this, 10 soldiers did that. Actually, according to the UN, this stuff is systematic. And I would ask you asked me who my investors are. I'll ask you. You were in the Israeli military. You proudly said you were a combatant. So I'm going to ask you, were you involved in the things the Israeli military is being accused of by the International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor, by human rights groups? Intentional killing of civilians, starving of civilians, the use of rape and sexual violence against detainees, using Palestinian children as human shields, as the New York Times reported this week. Did you do any of that when you were in your service, Jonathan Connery?
Wow, did y'all hear that? Absolutely nefarious. Okay, he couldn't say anything. He couldn't say a word. Okay, and let me just tell you all something else. So you know how they've been saying since 1996, Benjamin Netanyahu, that is, has been basically saying, that Iran has these weapons of mass destruction. They have nuclear facilities and all this, nuclear capabilities. And then now Trump started saying that even after they're the ones that initiated this whole thing. But what they're not going to tell you, what they don't want you to know, is that in fact, the supreme leader whom they just killed, he frequently proclaimed that a nuclear war or nuclear weapons of mass destruction are a harem. They're harem or haram. Okay, Haram, haram. Okay, which means religiously forbidden. Okay, so was he planning on doing any sort of nuclear attacks on them? No. I just want y'all to pay attention, but that's what they're not going to tell you. He said that plenty of times. Okay, he said that plenty of times, but at the end of the day, they just kept saying, they have nuclear capabilities. They have nuclear weapons and all this. They kept saying that. That's just a ruse for them to justify what they're doing right now, in my opinion. Okay? in my opinion. So with that, I've been said, Andrea said that guy didn't say no at all. Right. He's just sitting there looking crazy because he probably did every bit of it at the end of the day, or he at the very least condoned it, didn't do anything to stop it. Okay, that's what he didn't do. But so let's continue. Also, let me just say the soldier, the Marine yesterday, Brian McGinnis, who got his arm broken or his hand. Well, you know, they say he's missing. They say he's missing, and they say his wife and lawyer don't even know where he is after he was arrested. Now that's pretty scary. I don't know where that man is, but that's what they've been saying. And also, they're trying to paint this narrative. Okay, I'm going to go to the phone call because this lady actually recorded when she called Senator Tim Sheehy's, she called his office. Okay, I want y'all to hear the lies they were telling. Okay, but anywho, let's continue.
Here's a little story about a man named Don. That motherfucker wasn't nothing but a con. Gave to the rich and took from the poor. His old lady was a first-class whore. Bought and paid for, that is. The next thing you know, Don's president, talking a bunch of shit and making no sense. Tweeting out stuff at 3 a.m. People asking what's wrong with him. Nuts, that is. Crazy. Here's a little story about a man named Don. That motherfucker what?
Hold on, honey. All right, everybody's going in on Trump. Please pay attention. Now, with that all been said, and there's a whole bunch of MAGA that have flipped the script, clearly. Having buyer's remorse, like I told you all. Queen, we have not heard from Israel PM since March the 2nd. You talk about Benjamin Netanyahu. That's because they said he was in Germany in a bunker. Yeah, that's what they were saying. They said Bibi fled to Germany. There it is. Quiet Storm said the same thing. Yes, that's what I heard too, beloved. That he fled to Germany, was hiding out in a bunker. Okay, if it's a lie, they told it. All right. Well, let's continue. Let's continue.
This war with Iran feels so confusing. So let me cut right through it. My name's Adam. I used to be in the CIA, and we've been doing daily updates on the war. Today, I'll give you the facts from the last 24 hours, but then I'm going to give you the tools to understand strategically why this war is spinning out of control. So here's what you need to know. Last night, the Iranians hit Azerbaijan's international airport. More explosions reported in Abu Dhabi. The UAE continues to be the hardest hit in the region. There's footage claiming to show Iranian ballistic missiles over Jordan. Iran hit the primary oil refinery in Bahrain, which is still on fire, and a missile struck near a U.S. naval installation. A U.S. Navy sub sank an Iranian warship off the coast of Sri Lanka. And finally, U.S. CENTCOM is requesting support for another 100 days of Iran operations. So that's what happened. Now here's why it matters. This is no longer a contained operation between Israel, the U.S., and Iran. This is now a regional conflict involving 17 countries, and those in charge of American strategic policy are fundamentally unequipped to handle it. They've also spent the last 15 months undermining our diplomatic readiness and our relationships with global allies, both of which are necessary to prosecute this kind of war. Consider, Trump fired dozens of senior career diplomats. Several strategic posts in the Middle East have been vacant for over a year. He fired more than 1,300 State Department employees, many of whom were Middle East and counterterrorism experts. They dismantled USAID, an agency that should be playing a critical role in navigating the conflict and post-conflict environments. Kash Patel also fired a dozen agents and staff from the FBI's counterintelligence unit specifically tasked with monitoring threats from Iran. I know firsthand that Iran has a very capable intel service that has networks and cells all over the world. We haven't even seen those networks activated yet, but terrorism, sabotage, assassination, it's all on the table. When we stack all of this together, a bigger picture emerges, a picture of incompetence, lack of planning, and an inability to understand, even intellectually, the scale of the crisis they've created. That's why this conflict is spinning out of control, and this is where our alliances will be critical. Right now, the European allies are hesitantly supporting us. The French sent fighter jets, the Dutch sent warships, even the Ukrainians, they're sending drone teams. All of this despite repeated disrespect from the Trump administration over the last year. Because even if our leaders don't understand it, our allies do. They recognize this moment is critical, and they are attempting to protect, stabilize, and de-escalate. On the other hand, Trump, Hegseth, Rubio, Noam, Patel, all of them, they failed in their duty to act in the best interest of the American people. In only 5 short days, they unilaterally committed us to a massive regional war. This dwarfs Iraq or Afghanistan in complexity and in scale. And when we look at who's in command, who's making decisions, and who's working with our allies, we see a team of Fox News hosts, podcasters, Nepo babies, billionaires, and Mar-a-Lago influencers. And in charge of all of them, at the head of the table, is a calloused and diminished president who spent more time with Jeffrey Epstein than he did planning for war with Iran.
Y'all heard that? Honey, did he lay it on thick or not? Said he spent more time with Epstein than he did planning for the war with Iran. Ooh, honey, no lies detected. But now let's go to this, because y'all remember in Iran, they were burning that statue of Baal just 2 weeks ago. And then all of a sudden, Iran got attacked. Did y'all notice that? I find it interesting. Y'all remember I showed y'all that video, right? When they were burning Baal in Iran. And then all of a sudden, they got attacked. Just paying attention.
The Bible is in the book of Exodus. God delivered his people. They got together and they created a golden calf and they worshiped it. You would worship Baal if you wanted to succeed and be affluent and live a lavish lifestyle. Baal is typified as a bull. A calf is a baby bull. They were worshiping Baal. And see, what happens is we read the Bible and we think those people are primitive. Thankfully, we've moved beyond that sort of primitive thinking. Thankfully, we don't worship a Baal or bull. Yes, we do. This is right next to the New York Stock Exchange. If we were Hebrews from the Old Testament, we would say, well, there's Baal, the golden bull, and we worship him because we want a bull or Baal market. A bull or Baal market is a thriving market. What I'm telling you is this. We're dealing with new days but old demons. I've said this for a long time. If the people change and things don't, that means that the spirit working through them is the same.
All right, y'all heard what that man said, right? Now let's go to this clip of what Candace Owens, that is, okay, the raccoon. But here's what she had to say. Let me get my overlay on here real quick.
The reason that America wants a regime change in Iran is because Bibi Netanyahu is demanding it. And that answers the question as to why there is this split in the MAGA movement. What we are seeing right now is the infiltration of Israel first people, the neocons, people who have always wanted never-ending wars, and the people who have recognized that following Israel's foreign policy initiatives has led to America being on the decline. And we also are completely done with the idea that with these decades-long idea that we're doing it to spread democracy because we believe in international liberalism. There was no imminent threat to the United States when Trump made this decision to do what Bibi wanted. And I want to be clear here. This was not Trump's decision. It was Bibi Netanyahu's decision. And that is the reason that he did it. And we're very aware that Israel is dictating our foreign policy, and we would now like that to stop.
Okay, but you wouldn't disagree, presumably, that Iran has been the main sponsor of terrorism in the Middle East through the Houthis, through Hezbollah, through Hamas. I mean, that's widely accepted and recognized. They've done it.
Things widely accepted. Now, that's just kind of...
Really? You don't
Israel has been a terrorist state. Okay, Israel right now is imparting a genocide and a Holocaust on the Gazan people. So I'm really over this idea like somehow Israel has the moral high ground and we have to get behind them.
I didn't say that.
We've got to go after the bad guys.
I wasn't saying that.
We have.
No, hang on. Look, we can come to Gaza where I think we'll reach agreement about what Israel's government's been doing there in the last few months. Without
but it's relevant. Question. If you're going to call Iranians terrorists, if they right now had an open concentration camp where they were mass killing their own people, while at the same time, they are executing a genocide and a Holocaust in Gaza that the world is watching. So who's the bigger terrorist is the question today. I would say as an American that if we're going to get behind a regime change, it should be in Israel first. So that would be my position. I think the position of a lot of people who are waking up to the fact that Zionism has brought us nothing but grief in America. Can you name one positive thing that Zionists have contributed to America? That us fighting these perpetual wars on behalf of Zionism has contributed to America. There's no imminent threat. He could have taken this to Congress and he could have allowed the people's representatives going to wait 2 weeks. And then he didn't wait 2 weeks because Bibi Netanyahu, at least according to the Israeli press, if you believe it, said, we're not waiting 2 weeks. We want this done immediately. But I will say you are correct. He's not just doing this because Bibi Netanyahu demands it. He's also doing it because Miriam Adelson demands it. He took $100 million from Miriam Adelson. It was very clear what she wanted. She was clear that she wanted to annex the West Bank. So there was an imperialist plan that was put into place. And unfortunately, when you do a deal with the devil, you're going to have to eventually deliver the pound of flesh. And that is what Trump is doing, in my opinion. And more evidence of that is the fact when he tweeted that there could be a Trump hotel in Gaza. I mean, that was truly, in my opinion, HIAS, and she says it explicitly, which she said what was started by them in the 1880s, which includes immigrants that have come in like Sergey Brin. They are still the organization that is operating at our border right now, okay? That is problematic, that we have open borders while we continually and routinely are told that we have to defend somebody else's borders, okay? And again, these never-ending wars in the Middle East at the behest of Israel. Bibi Netanyahu was the one that called for Americans to invade Iraq, Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, and now Iran, and we've done it. We're told Israel can defend itself, okay, but why do we have currently 2,000 troops that are in Syria under the guise of fighting ISIS? And like I said, we know Israel themselves fund terror-adjacent militants like they did to overthrow Assad. And we're done with the BS of, okay, well, they weren't really involved, Israel, in Afghanistan, because even when we fight those never-ending wars, Israel wins. Everybody knows that our boys were out there in Afghanistan guarding.
Hold on, we got Mackinson 7481 saying they're both guilty. F out of her, Candace. Well, that's what she's saying. What are you talking about? F out of her, Candace. That's exactly what she's saying, honey. Did you not pay attention? Pierce was talking about Iran, and then she said, if you're going to blame them, you got to talk about Israel too. So that's exactly what she's saying. It's what you're saying. They're both guilty. Okay, let's continue. Please pay attention.
Poppy fields, okay? And do you know what happened after we allegedly, quote unquote, lost in Afghanistan? What happened to all those poppy fields, those poppy flowers that our military was guarding? Well, the opioid crisis hit America via the Sackler family, who quite literally built the School of Medicine at Tel Aviv University. So we're just done, okay? And there's no way that we're going to go backwards. We're not going to allow you guys to emotionally condition us to go, oh, well, we got to protect Israel because of the Holocaust. It is over. They're imparting a Holocaust. America would like off this crazy train.
Okay, y'all heard what she said, honey. End of the day. I mean, what do y'all have to say about it? Hold on. This guy's talking about Candace as well.
So, you know, people like myself have been actively trying to remind you how our government's controlled and ran by an elite network of pedophiles, and that these pedophiles are all influenced and blackmailed by dual citizen Israelis. And this all started when Epstein infiltrated our government and used his connections within Mossad. Point in case being Alan Dershowitz, his attorney, said that, well, if Jeffrey Epstein was Mossad, he could have just said something to me and I would have got all of his charges dropped. Well, that leads us into this conversation we're about to have about Candace Owens, because Candace Owens is right over the target, and I find it very strange. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Granted, we all knew when we were going to war, we knew it was going to be by the 28th. We knew it was going to be on a Jewish holiday. We knew this operation was coming long in advance. But it's just strange that as soon as Candace Owens is getting ready to release this series on Erica Kirk, magically we're at war. It's like the entire internet was going to be focused and paying attention to the story about Erica Kirk, her mother, and their connections to the military, because once you start asking a few questions and you start pulling a few strings, just like the Epstein files, you find.
And speaking of the Epstein files, okay, my friend who's a doctor was also saying that it's so convenient that Pam Bondi, even though she's been subpoenaed and we know she dropped those files, but at the end of the day, he said that the fact that she dropped those files right when we're in the midst of this war, well, of course, that was all by design, thinking that nobody's going to be paying attention because we're all focused on the war. But no, I got time. So we're going to talk about that later, like I told y'all, but let's continue.
A rat nest of corruption. So if you haven't seen this documentary that Candace is working on, this series, I think she's on episode 5 now. Let me give you a taste of what you're missing.
For some reason, in this year of 2008, Lori's going to receive a lot of money from the Army National Guard. IMET Laboratories, again, associated with Lori Franzfey, the Army National Guard is going to have to disclose that they gave $2.4 million to IMET Laboratories. Take a look at that. I mean, this woman, from a model to a secretary to now she's getting all of this money for tech. It's interesting. Things are going to start to get spicy. Okay. So remember, going into this, Lori's already working with the United States military. She's receiving millions. Do not forget that. In 2009, Lori Franzfey is going to establish Everyday Heroes Like You in April. In her filing, she will claim that it is a faith-based organization that is raising funds and developing programs for vulnerable children. Okay. Lori seems a bit busy. She's already working with the government. She's maybe in Afghanistan, or at least creating tech that's going to be used in Afghanistan. And now, wow, this hero is jumping in and going, I'm going to help vulnerable children. Why does that make me uncomfortable? Do I have a right to feel uncomfortable about that? Do you guys feel uncomfortable about that? Then in October, the same year, right after she establishes this, it is announced that the Romanian government has agreed to allow America to set up a military base along the Black Sea. Erica is going to make the claim, by the way, on a future podcast entitled Free Thinkers Only, that shortly after they established this charity, Everyday Heroes Like You, she's going to go to China to help women who were sex trafficked. Then she gets this partnership with the Marines, and then she goes out and establishes the Romanian Angels Project. That's what she says then. Don't hold Erica to being consistent. You'll drive yourself crazy. 2009, got the Romanian government agreeing to allow America to set up a military base. That's when you start to see Jeffrey Epstein beginning to procure women from Romania. This headline reads, several Romanian women named in newly released Epstein case files. I'll add here also that the number one university that he seems to be involved with is Arizona State University, which Erica will eventually graduate from. For the purposes of right now, just know that Jeffrey Epstein, we have emails going back to 2009, right when this base gets established, and suddenly he is interested in procuring models from Romania.
We have nothing to hide.
Maybe.
Now, the reason why that sounds valid to me is because I already reported to you all last year, shortly after Charlie Kirk died, that I found out some information that Erica Kirk had, in fact, allegedly been run up out of Romania, okay? Her and her little nefarious foundation. All right, Romanian Angels. Y'all remember that? One's in the chat if y'all remember me telling y'all that. So I find this all very troubling, okay? What's really going on here? All right, what's going on here? Okay, so Sister said, Epstein's crimes are truly international. Yeah, a global trafficking ring. That's what it was. Okay, the Leo said that she looks possessed. Y'all don't remember me telling you that? One's in the chat. Okay, there y'all go, because I know I told y'all that. I said she had this little charity called Romanian Angels, and they allege that she had been run up out of there for trafficking girls. Okay, now I can't substantiate it, but that is what was said. Okay, so this just makes it all seem more viable to me. Okay, so now let's go to this next clip. They said a former sniper calls BS on the media smearing the Marine with a broken arm. Also, like I told y'all, he's supposed to be missing, but guess what? I went and did a little digging into Senator Tim Sheehy, and basically he's a liar who lies. He's already been caught in lies, okay, lied about things that happened in the military that didn't even happen, supposedly, and a few other things. Said some racist things about Native Americans, okay? So now we know he's a whole racist, all right, to boot. And they're, like I told you, they're trying to paint this narrative that he was protecting the Capitol Police. Did they ask him for help? I think they pretty much had it covered.
This is CBS. GOP senator helps police eject anti-war protester. New York Times, senator helps police. NBC, GOP senator helps police remove anti-war protester. And even AP News, disappointing, called this a scuffle. And what's interesting is this is exactly on brand for what Tim Sheehy posted on X. That's the senator that broke that Marine's arm. He called him an unhinged protester who was fighting back. They are painting this guy out to be some unhinged protester and not a fucking Marine.
And we all saw the footage, so we know exactly what happened. Oh, and now they're charging him with a list of felonies, including the fact that they say he injured those 3 officers. Injured them when? They didn't look like they were injured. And how did he injure them when they had him by the arms? Okay, I just want you all to pay attention to the lies that are being painted.
Went to war, that is tired of endless wars in the Middle East. It was the Marine that was violently attacked for speaking out in the people's fucking house. Now it's even more disgusting. According to Ground News, this Marine is being charged with 7 crimes. And as you can see, Ground News is portraying this story accurately. You know, they try to be transparent as possible.
So yeah, charging him with 7 whole felonies. Okay, please pay attention. This is all nefarious. Now, let's get into the lies told by Mr. Sheehy, allegedly. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this was by the New York Times. A candidate for U.S. Senate says he was shot in a war. Was he, though? Okay, was he? Montana Senate candidate says he was medically discharged from the Navy. Okay. I'm trying to pause this. GOP candidate accused of lying about being shot in Afghanistan. That was in October of 2024. So as you can see, he's lied about this a myriad of times. Okay? And like I said, they also say that he's a whole racist. Was talking greasy about Native Americans. So if he's talking about Native Americans and being racist, well, you already know he's racist against black folk. So with that all being said, let's go to the audio. Okay? Since they want to lie and paint these narratives, you're going to hear the best lies when the lady calls his office. Let's get into it. But I told you all yesterday they were painting false narratives. I told you all that. They're already acting like he's the hero, like he came in to save the day. Nobody needed his help. And if you ask me, he should be arrested for attacking that man because he didn't have a damn thing to do with it.
The one that broke the veteran's bones yesterday, and I wasn't recording at the beginning of the call. So just so you know, in the beginning, they said hello, and I said, does a senator often violently attack veterans, or do they only do that when those veterans are standing up for our members of the military? And then he started giving some BS answer, and I hit record as that was going on. Okay, here it is.
He never attacked a veteran. He was simply defending Capitol Police.
I watched it. The Capitol Police don't need a random senator's defense. I watched the video. I saw him break the bones of a veteran for daring to say that we shouldn't be fighting Israel's war for them.
Well, he was protesting illegally.
Illegal? Okay, so what you're telling me is he thinks it's acceptable to break veterans' bones if they protest, if they say words he doesn't like against the country that it seems Mr. Sheehy actually works for.
That is not what I said. I understand you're very concerned about
You
this.
said he was protesting illegally, and that's why Mr. Sheehy broke his bones.
No, you said that he was just voicing his opinion.
He was. That's what protesting is doing.
Yes, but he's doing it illegally.
Right, and so you're justifying him breaking the bones of a veteran because he illegally spoke. You said it a second time. Okay, so tell me what you're saying that's different than that. You're literally justifying he spoke illegally, and therefore Senator Sheehy broke his bones. What's wrong with you?
Oh, nothing's wrong with me, ma'am. But it sounds like
Yeah, you hate the military, you traitor. What's wrong with you? The person you're working for literally broke a veteran's bone.
The Washington, D.C. office of Senator Sheehy.
We must have gotten disconnected, which is a shame because one of your staffers was just explaining to me how it's acceptable for Senator Sheehy in his role as a sitting member of Congress conducting official business, how it's acceptable for him to break the bones of veterans for speaking out of turn. He thinks it's acceptable to break bones of veterans for daring to stand up to the military that Senator Sheehy is sending to die by neglecting his constitutional oath to be the declarer of wars. He neglected that responsibility yesterday by giving dear leader the authority to do whatever the he wants with our military, use them as pawns for another foreign country. And then he broke their bones for speaking out against it. This entire office is an embarrassment. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. And I hope you all eventually go to prison. Have the day you deserve.
She went light on him as far as I'm concerned, because I would have said a whole lot worse. Okay, I would have said a whole lot worse. Now, with that all being said, let's go to Thomas Massey when he was questioned by a reporter as to his thoughts on the Marine and how he was treated. These people are something else. So we already know who's running stuff, and we already know, listen, whoever you can't speak ill of is who's running stuff. Remember, I told y'all that 5 or 6 years ago. Whoever you cannot speak on is who's running stuff. Pay attention.
What did you make of the scene yesterday when Republican Senator Tim Sheehy helped break that Marine's arm as he was saying we shouldn't go to war for Israel? Did you see that scene?
I saw it, and my heart breaks for that man. Yeah, you know, the police here are trying to keep people safe. I think the politician would have been better just to stay out of it. It's bad. It's a very bad visual, and it's just a terrible thing to happen.
What do you think? I mean, you're talking about visuals. What do you think of the visual of a Marine saying we shouldn't go to war for Israel? I mean, you just mentioned how Marco Rubio suggests as much. For a Marine to make that protest and for his arm to be broken by a Republican who's in support of this war, what do you think of that image for the American people who might be skeptical of this war?
It's a bad image, and it may be symbolic. I'm following that Marine on social media now because I'm interested in what he has to say. I mean, he's a man who served his country, as far as I know, and so I'm interested in hearing his thoughts.
Just there's some talk among some of your colleagues in Congress for a supplemental for the war, to give them even more money to carry out this war. What would you say to that?
Well, some people say that Congress does fulfill its role of authorizing a war when they fund it. I would argue that that's an abdication still of our role when you just throw money at it and you don't give the service members what they deserve, which is a full debate on the floor of the House about what the objectives are and how long the war might last and whether, for instance, it's constrained geographically to a region. Then you are not doing your service to the military members who are serving, because they deserve to know if you do A, B, and C, these are the objectives, then we're going to bring you home when you're done. And you don't get that with a funding bill. It's just more money that mostly goes straight to military industrial complex. And then that's the problem that you get into. You can't, when you put your troops out there, it's hard not to fund them. But this should have been authorized by Congress to start with.
There's reports that the war is costing $1 billion a day.
It's at least costing $1 billion a day. You can count the missiles in the video. People back home, they're already feeling it in gas prices, and then they're going to feel it in grocery prices, and eventually housing prices and interest rates as our debt goes up. We spent $8 trillion in the Middle East already. This thing could get into $1 trillion real quick, and that goes straight to our debt. So.
And you have Trump to thank for that. And I already told you all this. I already told you all how this is going to turn out for our pockets. But now let's go to this video of them burning flags, okay, in protest. This is in Rio, okay, for the attacks on Iran.
Rekaman yang diambil pada Jumat dan Selasa menunjukkan para teknisi di laboratorium universitas sedang memproduksi dan mengemas obat-obatan. Proyek ini didukung oleh perjanjian antara Universitas Antioquia, Kementerian Ilmu Pengetahuan Kolombia, dan Kementerian Kesehatan untuk mengembangkan 4 obat strategis, termasuk klorokuin untuk malaria dan dolutegravir, obat untuk pengobatan HIV, menurut para ahli di Fakultas Farmasi dan Ilmu Pangan universitas tersebut.
All right, so much for that. The United States is planning to deploy U.S. on the ground in Iran. Senators who have been briefed say it's worse than what we're being told. Well, you know, I told you all that yesterday. Okay, I've been told you all that. Okay. They're just not telling the whole truth. And that's how you know they're losing. I mean, if they were really winning, they wouldn't have to be worried about things getting out, such as pictures of Tel Aviv, you know, the number of soldiers killed and all these things.
It's Joe from Georgia, and this is an update on what the future looks like for the Iran war. Folks, the senators got a briefing today from the Department of Defense about the plans for this war. And folks, it is a full-on war. And lots of senators coming out of the meeting says that it is worse than any of us are even thinking. And what they're talking about is boots on the ground in Iran. Folks, they're looking to put our soldiers in harm's way over what's happening in Iran. And folks, are we fighting this war for Israel? Because that's what this kind of feels like. It's just kind of like the weapons of mass destructions back in 2003, where the United States went to war over something that didn't even exist. Well, we're at it again, folks. And remember, this is coming from an administration that says they would not have any wars, that they were stopping wars all across the world, which is not true, but that's what they're saying. So now we're looking at putting our soldiers on the ground in Iran. Folks, we need to stay out of other countries' problems and let them try to handle things more diplomatically. But instead, we're going to spend $1 trillion, as we did with the Afghanistan war and Iraq war. That's where we're headed. And now when we're putting boots on the ground, you're going to have a lot of dead soldiers. And folks, being a veteran myself and knowing people who did give their lives for this country and people whose families are destroyed over it, over something that, what is Iran going to give us? They're talking about liberating their citizens. Let their citizens do the liberation.
Well, that's the gag of it all. They're not doing this to liberate Iran. They're doing it for BB, please, in my opinion. Now, with that all being said, let's go to these next two clips. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Okay, Sosa said, man, you preach to the choir. Tell your president, not social media.
Government is lying about the number of current military casualties in their war on Iran. Current U.S. death tolls are reported to be in the single digits, with only 6 confirmed U.S. soldier deaths. But Iranian media claims to have killed over 500 U.S. soldiers. Top Iranian security official Ali Larijani reports 560 U.S. troop casualties, a figure that is not reported in U.S. media. This is, however, being reported outside of the U.S. China's reporting it. Spain is reporting it. But the U.S. military has already accidentally revealed that there are more casualties than they're letting on, with a now deleted job posting. The U.S. Dover Air Base in Denver was actually caught posting and deleting a job notice about a position for shipping the belongings of U.S. military casualties. The personal effects specialist position was posted for urgent hiring, suggesting that there are more casualties than the U.S. government is letting on. And this comes after Donald Trump's comments at Mar-a-Lago this weekend that there will likely be more casualties in the Iran operation, and that's just the way it is. Sounds like they were already aware of there being more deaths and were just trying to cover for themselves. The U.S. government is lying about the number of current military.
Okay, FBA Justice says, can you say military industrial complex? Trump is doing the bidding of those that make money from war and big money interests. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, it's exactly what he's doing, honey. He's doing all this at the behest of BB and also to get his coins up as well. Okay. I appreciate your insight into the topic, beloved, and your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, with that all being said, there was another, hold on. Yeah, here's the new soldiers that they're sending. They're sending more soldiers over there. And then, you have this guy coming out talking about how they created ISIS, which people that I know in the military told me that years ago. Okay. When they were talking about ISIS, it's like ISIS doesn't even exist. They just made it all up. Okay. At the end of the day, let's continue. I mean, the lies and propaganda that's being spewed. Okay, so Trump sends a new contingent of young U.S. soldiers to fight and die for Israel. Yet nowhere do you see Barron Trump amongst them. Well, you sure won't be seeing him. Okay, that is just so sad to watch, especially when you know that some of these young men and women are just not going to even make it back home. Like, this is heartbreaking. It really is. Here it is right here. He said they made ISIS up.
We created ISIS. I mean, ISIS is no less than the people up in Islamberg, no less than Gulen, is a CIA creation. John McCain, for heaven's sake, was over there with the ISIS officials. It's our creation. We create them. We still direct them. When ISIS warriors are injured in battle, where are they transported? They're transported, for heaven's sake, to Israel. They're treated by the Israelis in Israeli hospitals and brought back to battle.
Well, plenty of the rebels have acknowledged that they've been supported by Israel, and they've thanked Israel for helping them. In fact, arms are oftentimes caught. Israeli arms are caught on en route to the rebel groups.
Okay, so I'm sorry, but they want to censor people on social media for telling the truth. But the lies that they spew, it's just ridiculous. Okay, let's go to this next clip. Everyone, please like and share. We're almost done. I'm not going to make this 2 hours today because I have to come back later. Talk about those Epstein files.
Breaking news in Iran. As reported by Marwa Osman, a short while ago, Iranian deception tactics reportedly made the Zionist and American militaries look bad on the global stage. It started when the Israeli terrorist army and U.S.-aligned media proudly released footage claiming a successful strike inside Iran. One clip showed what was presented as a precision thermal strike on Iranian fighter jets. The video was circulated as proof of high-tech accuracy. But journalists and independent analysts took the footage apart frame by frame and uncovered a serious technological embarrassment. When they compared two thermal images, one taken just before the strike and another exactly 1 second after, the so-called fighter jet hadn't moved at all. No displacement, no blast effect, nothing you'd expect from a real explosion. So what happened? It turns out there is no real fighter jet. The target was reportedly a sophisticated visual decoy, a 3D ground rendering designed to full area surveillance and AI-based targeting systems used by U.S. and Israeli drones. They mistook a cheap decoy for a real aircraft and fired a missile costing over $1 million. This story is now circulating in U.S. and Israeli media, with critics citing it as evidence of poor planning and blind alignment between the Trump administration and Benjamin Netanyahu, portraying Donald Trump as reactive rather than strategic. Makes you wonder how many other targets were never real. Good question, Marwa, and thank you for this update.
Did y'all hear it? This is also, this is so embarrassing. Like, I'm sorry. How do you not be embarrassed by this? Okay? You're sitting there shooting at something that's not even really there. All right? Just a drawing. I mean, I would feel so stupid at this point. I would just end the war and say, hey, let's just call it a wrap. Okay? Because why even keep trying at this point? And Iran's not going to stop. Y'all heard what that man said. He said, we've been waiting for this. We're waiting on them. Okay? Like, let's just head home. How do you beat somebody that's not going to quit? These people are determined to fight to the death, just so you know. They're not going to let up.
Donald Trump just froze for around 30 to 40 seconds while he was giving a speech in Texas tonight. This is really concerning stuff. Take a look at the clip.
In the history of the world. are a nation in decline.
Yeah, like 30 to 40 seconds of silence. He's not saying anything. He's just frozen there. It seems like he had a bit of an emergency there or something. Like, this reminded me of the time that Mitch McConnell froze at the podium. And I disagree with Mitch McConnell, but I'm thankful that he's okay. That looks very similar to me. He looked confused. So Donald Trump.
What do you all think about that? I'm going to tell what I think. To me, it looked like someone was saying something in his ear. It looked like he was receiving a message. That's just to me. Okay? Because if you notice, he's standing there like he's listening, and then he even sticks his neck out like, I think he was listening to something in his ear. That's what I think. Okay? I think that they were telling him something in his ear. I don't know what they were telling him, but he may have had an earpiece in. I don't know. Either way, it's nefarious. Mackinson said a nation in decline. He said, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Okay? Listen, does anyone have a bunker that I can hop in case this all goes left? Okay, because I don't have one. I can't afford it. So if anybody can help the queen out, please let me know.
He went in on Venezuela. He impulsively went in on Iran. There was no exit and no end game for either of these situations. It led to increased global instability everywhere he goes. And every time he's done that, it has been consistent with a spike or a revelation in what is happening with the Epstein files. I don't think that that coincidence is something to dismiss off the cuff. I think that he feels existentially tied to it. And I actually think that it is one reason that he must be removed from office, because if the Epstein files has such a hold on President Trump and this administration that they are willing to plunge us and risk world war in order to save themselves politically, that is a person, the definition of someone that cannot make objective decisions for the American people. He impulsively went in on Venezuela. He
know that Trump let Melania speak. Okay, he let Melania speak the other day, and they say it was disastrous. Okay, everybody was going in on her. They said she can't read. I mean, they were just going in on Melania so bad. Let's go to the footage. Terry Hinton said, you need a bunker too. Okay. All right. Hey, Lieutenant MXUR. I don't know how to say that name to this day. I wish you'd tell me how to pronounce it, beloved. You need to put the pronunciation in the chat. Okay, now listen to this. This man right here is talking about Melania at the meeting.
Just when you thought this country couldn't sink any lower, Trump allows his wife, Melania, to preside at the UN Security Council meeting concerning the war in Iran. This dope who's lived in this country for over 30 years and can't speak a lick of English, tried to say this: the U.S. stands with all the children throughout the world. I hope soon peace will be yours. This is right after her husband and Netanyahu just ended the lives of over 150 little children. Just when you thought this country couldn't sink any lower, Trump allows his wife, Melania, to preside at the UN Security Council meeting concerning the war in Iran. This dope who's lived in this country for over 30 years and can't speak a lick of English tried to say this: the U.S. stands with all the children throughout the world. I hope soon peace will be yours. This is right after her husband and Netanyahu just ended the lives of over 150 little children in Iran. Here's their graves being dug, little graves. And when Trump was asked about the war, he responded by saying, "Have you seen the ballroom? It's really starting to shape up." And then when he was pressed on what about the US servicemen who were killed, he responded by saying, "The curtains in the ballroom are looking beautiful."
I mean, that is just a darn shame. He couldn't care less. Okay, and then she's talking about they stand with the children. We know what your husband's accused of doing to those children in the Epstein files, ma'am. Okay, and we also know about those poor children that died at that school. That is so sad. May their little souls rest in peace. Okay, very sad. Now, with that all being said, the nerve of Trump saying that he wants to choose Iran's next leader. Let's go to this clip with Representative Gonzalez, because remember, he supposedly had this affair, and the guy's asking him about it. And listen to what he says. I found this interesting. Ballroom is not a concern, said Social. Exactly. Oh, and Metro Man said, see, she said something about a damn Swiffer. They said she said Swiffer. I said what I said. She said Swiffer. What is a Swiffer? Are you talking about that mop? Oh, Swifter is what she was. Is that what she was trying to say? I'm like, are you talking about that thing you mop the floor with? Is that what she's talking about? Why? Thank you, Measure Man. You need to stop. Okay. Thank you for your insight to the topic, beloved, and your contributions to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, so let's continue. Measure Man, I don't know if you got in here late or not, but listen, the other day when I was going back through the chat, I saw that you said Tel Aviv was gone. And so now, yeah, they're absolutely reporting. Different outlets around the globe are saying that Tel Aviv looks like Gaza. And they're also saying that if anybody posts pictures of it over in Israel, they can get 5 years in prison automatically. Okay, allegedly, of course. Okay, that's just the word on the street. But let's continue.
Relationship with this young lady who was working in your office?
You know, very, very direct, Pags. I made a mistake, and I had a lapse in judgment, and there was a lack of faith. And I take full responsibility for those actions. Since then, I've reconciled with my wife, Angel. I've asked God to forgive me, which he has, and my faith is as strong as ever. When you make mistakes like this, you know, it's never easy. It humbles you, but it's important to kind of work through it all.
Any and every headline that we see about this story makes the assertion, they're not out and out saying it, but they make the assertion that she committed suicide because of you. You don't think you had anything whatsoever to do with it?
Absolutely nothing to do with it. And you know what? They do this intentionally, Pags. I mean, you cannot hate the media enough.
Was there a relationship with this young lady who was?
First of all, she absolutely took her life because of him, in my opinion. And second, here's the thing. He said he asked God for forgiveness. He asked God to forgive him, and he did. I want to know, how does he know? Okay, because I ask God to forgive me all the time, but so far I hadn't heard back. So far I haven't heard back yet. So how does he know that God forgave him? Did God send him an email, you know, send him a text, or how does he figure this all out that God forgave him? Because like I said, I haven't heard back yet. I'm just hoping and praying. Okay, so now let's go to this clip, because they say Iran designed drones that are being used against itself. So they're trying to say that the U.S. has stolen Iran's idea of how they were doing their drones or whatever. Let's just go to the footage. This is how you know they're down bad, because they had to copy Iran. Like, they literally had to copy how they were doing their drones. Please pay attention.
Deadly Shahed drone. You can see the distinctive profile of the Shahed slamming into cities in the Gulf. In the first days of the world's newest war, the U.S. military says Iran launched more than 2,000 Shaheds, most of which were shot down by air defenses. But it turns out Iran is also on the receiving end of these killer weapons.
U.S. Central Command's drone task force, called Task Force Scorpion Strike, launched countless one-way attack drones, achieving massive effects. I'd like to point out these drones were originally an Iranian design. We took them back to America, made them better, and fired them right back at Iran.
Iran released a propaganda video this week showing tunnels filled with an arsenal of Shahed drones. It's the same.
Stop right there. I gotta call it out. They said Iran released a propaganda video this week talking about they have all of these tunnels or this stuff underground. Their stuff is underground. That's a fact. That's not propaganda. Now they want you to think, legacy media, the mainstream media, they want you to think it's propaganda, but it isn't. Okay, it absolutely is not. All right, please pay attention. They're the ones spewing the propaganda.
Weapon that Iran supplied to Russia and that has been used for years to deadly effect against Ukrainian cities and towns. The U.S. military calls its version of the Shahed the Lucas, or low-cost, unscrewed combat attack system. Whether Shahed drones or Shahed clones, these unmanned weapons are now a lethal symbol of modern-day warfare. Iran's deadly Shahed drone.
Now pay attention, because he all but said they copied that from Iran. He said drones or clones. Well, because they tried to copy it. But here's the thing. Listen, the U.S. is already starting to run out of interceptors. Okay, and I want you all to pay attention to that because it's very important. Hold on. Now let's go to this next clip. And here's the thing. Iran is producing these things, like 5 of them per day. The United States produces like 50 per year, which is why they're running out. Okay, I'm sorry, it's true. Now let's continue. Allegedly. Let me just say allegedly. But anyway, let's continue.
Iran just launched hundreds of missiles and drones across the Middle East, and at the center of it all is something called the Shahed. Shahed, which means witness in Farsi, is a family of low-cost one-way attack drones developed by Iran. They're often called kamikaze drones because they function like guided missiles. They fly toward a preset target and explode on impact. They can hit speeds of up to 180 kilometers per hour and travel at least 2,000 kilometers, with some recently flying all the way to a British RAF base in Cyprus, striking its runway. But what makes them powerful isn't speed. Their real advantage is scale. Shaheds are produced in large quantities and launched in waves, in a swarm alongside ballistic missiles. That forces defenders to split their attention. A Shahed drone is estimated to cost between $20,000 and $50,000 US. Compare that to a Tomahawk cruise missile, which can cost about $2.5 million US. So while ballistic and cruise missiles are faster and more destructive, they're expensive. Faster, more dangerous missiles must be prioritized, forcing defenders to divide attention and interceptors between multiple threats. This allows cheaper drones to drain expensive interceptor missiles. Air defense systems like the USS Patriot and Israel's Iron Dome can shoot them down, and fighter jets can intercept them mid-flight. But doing that repeatedly is resource-intensive. Interceptors are finite, and if a conflict drags on, stockpiles can become a real concern. Russia has already demonstrated how this works in Ukraine, launching hundreds of drones in a single night to overwhelm air defenses. Now, in a notable shift, the United States says it has deployed low-cost one-way attack drones modeled after Iran's designs. The Pentagon says systems like the Lucas drone, costing about $35,000 US each, are far more cost-effective than relying only on multi-million-dollar missiles. The lesson emerging from Ukraine and now the Middle East is simple. In modern warfare, mass matters.
They said more cost effective. Now, they could be telling the truth about that. But what I do know is that Iran is estimated to produce approximately 400 Shahed 136 drones per day. Okay. They say according to Israel, U.S. and regional security reports. That's what they say. This high volume production amounts to nearly 10,000 to 12,000 units per month. Okay, it allows Iran to utilize drone warfare to overwhelm defense systems through sheer volume. I'm sorry, say who? Because didn't they say that U.S. is running out of munitions and all that? Okay, I'm just saying. Iran is believed to have stockpiled. Let me just share my screen. So y'all just know I'm not just saying stuff and making this all up. And here's the thing. I find it interesting that they're now coming out days later saying that they're making these at a more cost-effective, making the same type of drones at a cheaper, more cost-effective thing. I wonder if they're actually doing that or if they're just saying that because Iran came out, that guy did that interview and said that Iran has not even pulled out the big guns yet. They're using old missiles. They're using older drones, or not old drones, but they're using old missiles. Okay, and remember I told you all that a military person told me that it's like they put newer parts in it, and it's like when you get a car, you take an old car and put a new engine in it, right? And then it just runs like new. So that's what they're doing. That's what Iran is doing. So I don't know, is that why the U.S. is saying it? But here's the information right here. How many drones does Iran produce per day? That's what I typed in. 400 Shahed 136 drones per day, okay? And then it says production volume. Estimates suggest the capacity of around 400 drones daily, with some reports indicating an intent to increase this capacity further. Okay, Iran is believed to have a stockpile of roughly 80,000 Shahed drones. Now, these drones are primarily used for drone warfare attrition, designed to overwhelm air defenses with low-cost, low-range weapons, often in conjunction with missile strikes. The rapid production is supported by advanced industrial capacity and in some cases with Russian collaboration. All right. Whew. It's not looking good, is all I'm saying. Michael says, yes, Queen, Iran into producing those. I heard 500 per day, but who's counting? Exactly. Okay. Oh, interesting. Now, Measurement says, I have to remember the report. Someone reported Trump stank, and it's coming from the rash on his neck. And it was the channel, I think, with 6 million followers. In my opinion, that BO is his natural. Measurement, stop it. Okay. Thank you for your insight to the topic and your contribution to the channel, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings. Listen, I saw that nasty rash on his neck. Here's what I'm going to tell y'all. I wasn't going to say anything about this, but Trump's on his way out of here. It's just what it is. Trump's on his way out of here, and they want J.D. Vance in anyway because he's younger and he's worse than Trump. He's worse than Trump, allegedly. So that all been said, also, Timothy said that diaper be full too. Ew. I know, right? That's what they say. But yeah. So Trump's on the way up out of here, in my opinion. I told you all that, and I had a dream. I had another dream that Trump was out of here. Okay, he just wasn't here. I mean, he was here, but he wasn't moving. I had a dream, like I told y'all in 2020. Those dreams I had, about them trying to take Trump up out of here, Secret Service being accused of being involved. I had another dream. Trump had his eyes closed. Is all I'm saying. He was laying there with his eyes closed, wasn't moving. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna leave it right there. All right. Now, that all being said, let's talk about these interceptors because they are, in fact, running out. Okay. They are running out. Wait a minute. I already showed you all that video. Okay, so now let's continue. We're almost done. Let's go to these allegations about Trump, Epstein, and Russia. This came across my timeline today. So let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen. This is a report from Forbes. Okay, from yesterday. Sheldon White House details report on alleged ties between Epstein, Trump, and Russia. We're not going to listen to the whole thing because this is like 45 minutes. And no, I'm going to tell you all something else that I figured out too. Yeah, I'm going to tell you all something else that I figured out. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with the war, but it's something that I've been telling you all, and now I got the receipts. Okay, I got the receipts. So, because I conducted my own experiments. Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to listen to this first. Just We're going to listen to about maybe 5 to 10 minutes of it.
President, is the Senate presently in a quorum call?
We are,
May I ask unanimous consent that that quorum call be vitiated?
without objection.
Thank you, Madam President. It was the spring of 2019. Public and media interest in Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report into Russia's election interference operation reached a fever pitch. There had been a steady drip, drip, drip of reporting on the Trump team's cozy and peculiar relationship with Russia since his surprise election victory in 2016. Ahead of the Mueller report's release, Trump's Attorney General, Bill Barr, issued a letter to Congress purporting to summarize the report's findings. The letter declared that Russia and the Trump campaign did not collude to steal the election. The press, ravenous for any news of the long-anticipated Mueller report's conclusion, largely accepted Attorney General Barr's narrow, carefully worded conclusion. And not yet having access to the full report, blasted the Attorney General's summary around the world. Trump himself declared, all caps, no collusion. He said he had been cleared of the Russia hoax, a term he reserves only to describe things that are true, like climate change. Frustrated, Mueller wrote to Barr that the Attorney General's letter did not fully capture the context, nature, and substance of the investigation. But by the time the dense, voluminous Mueller report was issued, the month after Barr's letter, its message had been obscured. The Mueller report actually concluded that the Trump campaign knew of and welcomed Russian interference and expected to benefit from it. That conclusion was later echoed and reinforced by an investigation led by then Chairman Marco Rubio's Senate Intelligence Committee, a bipartisan report. But Barr's scheme had largely worked. Many in the media and in the Democratic Party seemed to internalize that the Russia speculation had perhaps gotten out of hand and that perhaps we had been wrong to believe there was a troubling connection between Trump and Russia after all. But were we? Let's take a look at a sampling of what Trump has done for Russia just lately, and usually at the expense of American interests. There are many, but here's a top 10. 1, after Trump and Vice President Vance theatrically chastised the heroic Ukrainian President Zelensky in front of TV cameras in the Oval Office last year, Trump paused our weapons shipments to Ukraine. 2, in July, during the worst Russian bombing campaign of the war until that point, Trump paused an already funded weapons shipment for Ukraine, including the Patriot interceptors that protect civilians from Putin's savage attacks. 3, that same month, Trump's Treasury Department stopped imposing new sanctions and closing sanctions loopholes, effectively allowing dummy corporations to send funds, chips, and military equipment leaked phone calls show that White House envoy Steve Witkoff and Putin envoy Kirill Dmitriev have worked together closely behind the scenes on a peace deal favorable to Russia. 5, last summer, Trump rolled out the presidential red carpet for the Russian dictator on American soil, with a summit in Alaska that yielded, unsurprisingly, no gains toward ending the war in Ukraine. 6, Trump's vice president traveled to the Munich Security Conference last year to parrot Russia's anti-Western talking points, pushed by right-wing groups that Putin has long funded and used to create political strife in Europe. 7, Trump installed Russia apologist Tulsi Gabbard as his director of national intelligence, much to the glee of Russian state media. 8, upon the confirmation of Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi, the Department of Justice shuttered its anti-kleptocracy work that had successfully targeted Putin's Russian oligarchs. 9, late last year, Trump unveiled a new so-called national security strategy, which abandoned traditional alliances in Europe and favored a transactional foreign policy that the Kremlin praised as, quote, largely consistent.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there because, like I said, this video is almost like an hour long. With that all been said, basically, was Putin working with Trump? Was there really Russian interference? Well, sounds like there was. Okay, now with that all been said, let me tell you all something. How many of you remember Kiko said, Queen, I dreamed he collapsed on a podium, hospitalized, unconscious for 33 to 44 days. McVeigh-style government building false flag, nation locked down, election suspended, VP JD Vance took his position, UFO. You said a whole lot. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. JD Vance will take his place. Now, the UFOs, let's talk about Project Bluebeam. Just remember that. Now, here's what I want to talk to you about. Remember I told you all, beloveds, that I felt like they were still in time? Put 1 in the chat if y'all remember me saying that. Put a 1 in the chat if you all remember me saying that I felt like they were still in time. 1's in the chat if y'all remember me saying that. I've literally been saying that for years. At least 3. Okay, so here's the thing. They are still in time. They're absolutely still in time. So let's do the experiment that I did myself on yesterday. Okay, let's all do it together. So y'all don't think I'm capping. All right, let's all do this experiment together. Now I want everybody to get their phone. I want everybody to get out their phone. Right? I'm about to school y'all on something real quick. This is y'all's lifelines for today. That's still in time. Okay, now please pay attention. Now I want you to start your clock. Okay, my phone says 3:39, so let's wait till it's 3:40. When it hits 3:40, I want everybody to start counting 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and see where you stop at when it's 3:41. When you do this till the hand changes. Here we go. Start now. Start now. Keep counting. I'm going to tell y'all when it's 3:41 so y'all know when to stop. And everybody put in the chat what number you stopped at. Let's see if we all got the same number. I don't have to do it because I already did it. I did it 3 times and it was always the same. I had other people do it and it was always the same. Okay? So just keep counting until it gets to 3:41. I'm going to tell you when it's 3:41 by my phone. Just keep counting. 341, stop. Everybody stop counting. Put the number you got to in the chats. Put the number that you counted to in the chat. Put the number that you counted to in the chat. Y'all got some low numbers. Now, some of you all clearly were not counting the way I told you to, which is 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, because that takes a second. Okay? There it is, Timothy Hogan. Timothy Hogan got what I got, what my friends got, what my cousins got. 50. We all got 50. Danger said you lost count of 42. Okay, that's cool. Try it again later, you guys. For those of you all who got, I don't know how somebody got 78. Please sit down. You clearly were counting hella fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's how you had to be counting if you got 78. So here's the thing. I want you all to pay attention because what is going on here, and I've already did the calculations. So 10 seconds may not seem like a lot, right? But in fact, if you lose 10 seconds per minute, okay, if you lose 10 seconds per minute, then you end up losing 10 minutes, okay? You end up losing, 10 seconds, right? So if you're losing 10 seconds per minute, then in an hour, you've lost 10 whole minutes, okay? Then in a day, you have lost 4 hours. Now, you see how that's adding up? You see how that's adding up? In a day, you've lost 4 hours. I want y'all to pay attention, okay? So they're absolutely still in time. Now, if you didn't get the correct number, you didn't get 50 or close to it, just try this again, because I promise you that's what it is. And so basically, if this is going on, at some point, we're going to lose. Okay, Claudette said, I knew it. I'm telling you, they're still in time. That's exactly what they've been doing. 10 seconds per minute. That's 10 minutes per hour. Okay? And then hold on, let me go to my email because I emailed this to myself. Hold on. Okay, so now here's the thing. In a year, you could lose a total of 60 days and 20 hours. Now think about that. Think about that. In a year's time, you could lose 60 days and 20 hours. And if it's a leap year, 61 days. Now I want y'all to think about that. 60 days is 2 months. 60 days is 2 months, okay? Songwriter Sunny said Queen got on her tinfoil hat. All right? Or tinfoil watch. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention. So this is what's really going on. Nene said, wouldn't that be 6 minutes per hour? No. Not according to my calculations. Hold on, let me go back. No, I have 10 seconds every minute, and then there's 60 minutes in an hour, and then let me see. 600 divided by 60 equals 10 minutes. No, it's 60. It's 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes per hour. Okay, that's what it is. It's 10. Yeah, I did it right. 10 minutes per hour. All right. So what y'all say about that? Malice said, why are they doing that? I don't know. I don't have any idea why they're doing it, but I know they're doing it because I know I'm not crazy. I kept saying, why does it seem like the days are so short? Why does it seem like the months are going by so quick? They're still in time. I said, something is weird. Okay. Timothy said, I want my time back. Yeah, I do too. Okay, so anyway, I'll tell you all more later about the work week and how they do all of that too. Okay, so with that all being said, Melly C, beloved, thanks for your question and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, Danger said, shaking my damn head, always playing games. Yes, they are. Songwriter Sunny said, let me find out, Queen, you trying to win an argument about last night. Absolutely not. Dialogue 77 said, I want my tax money back. Okay? This is all nefarious. Measure Man said, remember when they were trying to stop daylight saving time? All right. So anyway, I'm out of here. Listen, I'll be back later. Let me see. Today is Friday. Is today Friday? Yeah, it's Friday. So with that all being said, yikes. Let me see. It's almost 4 o'clock, so I'm not even going to lie and say I'm going to be back at 8. I don't know. I will come back. I'll come back probably. Thank you, Dialogue, beloved. Much love to you. Okay, so listen, I'll probably come back at like 9 o'clock. Okay, are y'all going to tune in if I come back at 9 o'clock to talk about the Epstein files? Because I have some things to do, so I don't want to say I'm going to be back at 8 because that's kind of soon. Okay, so who wants me to come back at 9? Now, if y'all don't want me to come back, I can come back tomorrow. It's fine with me. All right. J Love said, damn, so I guess I really don't have time today. Okay. Tim said, I'll be here if you will. Okay, so listen. So I'm going to come back at 9 o'clock. We'll make it 9:15 because y'all know I'm always late. I'll say 9 o'clock to myself, but I'm going to tell y'all 9:15, okay? So with that all being said, listen, I love you all to life. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Enjoy your strong end, not the weekend, leaving you in a weakened state of mind. And each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Okay, so get ready for the Epstein dump because when I come back, that's what we're going to be talking about. Okay, so until next time, beloveds, I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.
Hey, yo, Nick, hit him with that flavor. Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating